even within evangelical Christianity, are going to have a difficult time with this idea because of what we have seen alluded to. That's, you said this will be my most controversial, or it's already a controversial book. What have you heard from other people that they have deemed it to be controversial?
Well, let me start with the fatherless boys, because
Sure.
I think that the long-term solution to toxic behavior in men is better fathers. I cite one psychiatrist who says we're not going to have a better class of men until we have a better class of fathers, because fathers raising their sons is the most important long-term solution. And so we have to look at fatherhood. And everybody knows that fathers are mocked and ridiculed and made the butt of the joke in the media today. But they know that. You even
cite TV shows. You talk about Archie Bunker. You talk about how there was this trend where, and I can't remember that first television show that did it, but one television show made him to be a bumbling oaf. And from that moment on, every TV show had the dad as the bumbling oaf.
Yeah, whether it's anime, animated cartoons and so on. I mean, Homer Simpson might be the one we know the best. But people know that, but they don't know why. And once again, it goes back to the Industrial Revolution, because for the first time, fathers were out of the home all day. And already in the 19th century, you see this in the literature where people began to express concern that fathers are no longer integrated into the family dynamics. They don't know what their kids are doing. They're not connected to their kids. They're not tuned into their kids' needs and feelings and emotions and experiences. And you begin to get some people saying, well, fathers is just irrelevant and fathers are incompetent as parents, because, if you're gone all week, of course, you don't know quite what to do with your kids. So already you get a lot of people starting to say, our kids are growing up without fathers, and this is not a good thing. And especially for boys, because boys were the ones, of course, who were working their fathers in the fields, or in the family industry. And all of a sudden, boys had a lot of free, unsupervised time. And the idea that boys will be boys, that boys are sort of naturally rambunctious and rowdy and rule-breaking, that's when that started. Nobody had that attitude toward boys before. That stereotype didn't exist. It came out of the 19th century when boys lost their fathers. And mothers tried to step into the gap. But of course, the boys could tell that the mother's life was different from their father's. And so when mothers tried to impose structure or moral principles, it seemed like they were asking boys to be girlish, be feminine. And so, of course, boys rejected that. The most prominent psychologists of the day said, never before in American history have boys been so wild and so half-orphaned because the fathers weren't there, and left up to female guidance in home and school and church. And so this is when the idea rose up that to be the real boy was to rebel against, those feminine structures that were being posed in home, church, and school, and to be sort of wild and rule breaking. And of course, when those boys grew up, they brought that with them. So it led into what you talked about earlier with novels portraying men as, the way to recover your true manhood is to get away, is to get away from civilization and to get away from the civilizing impact of women and family and so on. So the image of fatherhood that we have today is a direct result of the Industrial Revolution, when fathers were essentially taken out of the home. And so again, the solution is for men to find ways, even, you can't reverse the Industrial Revolution, but can we find ways to find some flexibility for fathers to be more involved with their kids? And I make the suggestion in the book that churches should make a higher priority of having a ministry to fatherless boys. I don't know that many churches identify that as a specific ministry yet, but I think they need to, because the studies do show that father substitutes can have an incredible impact. Church youth leaders, coaches, teachers, and so on can have a real impact. And so I think we have to have a much more intentional approach to fatherless kids, but especially fatherless boys.